Yeah, let's move into the finals preview. Let's go to Oklahoma City and the Indiana Pacers, battle of the two small market teams. And what is something that you're looking to in this series that could potentially give either one of them the edge?
Yeah, so I mean, we can start from the OKC start. Like we can start from the OKC side of the ball. Like you just want to see. I think that in general, this OKC team is maybe just a little bit better version of Indiana, and don't even want to say that at this point because of the fact that every single time I picked against Indiana this playoffs, they've proven me wrong. But I mean, they play very similar styles of basketball. They're both young teams, and they just both like can get it done in clutch time. OKC like has proved that throughout the course of these playoffs. But I mean, from top to bottom, when you look at the star player and then you look at some of the surrounding players, I mean, Pascal Siakam has had a pretty great playoff run so far. So I don't even know if you want to put their number twos together, but they're the number one, the best player on this whole series is definitely SGA. And then when you look at it, like you look at some of the surrounding players, you also think that OKC has the edge. So if you can just get SGA to like do what he's been doing consistently all season long, give MVP performances, the OKC Thunder look like a hard team to beat.
Yeah, OKC looks like a hard team to beat, but I will say I'm not ruling out the Pacers. Like I think if they could get one of these games on the road to start this series, that they have a real shot at winning. I definitely think we're going to know if the series is tied at 1-1 going back to Indiana that the Pacers mean business. I definitely think that that is a strong possibility. I think it's interesting that we have a series like this because I feel like we haven't had a final series like this in a while where the two best players on each team play the same position. They're both point guards. They're going to be matched up against each other. Whether or not there's going to be a ton of switching or if those guys are going to be matched up defensively on each other remains to be seen. But that is something that I definitely think is really interesting. There's going to be so much comparison with those two guys. Now, I understand Shea, he's an MVP multi-time all-star, and Tyrese Halliburton was not an all-star this year. I get like some of the pushback on that a little bit, but they're inevitably going to be matched up against each other and people are going to be comparing how they play. I think that that's super important. Can't have a game from Tyrese Halliburton like you did in the conference finals, and we've seen it periodically throughout these playoffs, do for at least one in each series where he just doesn't impact the box score. You know, he's not as aggressive. He obviously impacts the game, but going to need to see him just try to stay aggressive and shoot the ball more than like 7 times in one of the games. So I think that that's one of the matchups I'm looking at. As far as the depth is concerned, Jalen Williams for the Thunder, he's got it. He's got to be consistent. He's got to be what he was in the previous series, not what he was against the Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It's the NBA Finals, and the Pacers show that if you give them literally an inch, they'll run with it completely. So if Jalen Williams isn't playing up to snuff and he's not having a good game, this isn't a Nuggets team where they legitimately only had like 3 players by the end of that series that could consistently score for them on offense. The Pacers team is deep, and they can take advantage of any little tidbit that you give them. So not Andrew Namward, Jalen Williams needs to be on his game, and if he isn't having good games and SGA is like being forced to carry the load offensively, obviously they have other guys, and we just talked about it. This is one of the deeper teams, but you need your star players to play like star players, and you have 2 all-stars on this team for a reason. If Jalen Williams isn't having good games, it makes it a lot harder for this OKC team to win.
If Jalen Williams isn't having good games, I do think Chet Holmgren can step up. We've seen that through these playoffs, especially in that Nuggets series. I felt like he was able to provide some scoring for them whenever Jalen Williams just went MIA. But in this series specifically, because the Nuggets they just didn't have enough bodies, I'm looking towards Pascal Siakam of the Indiana Pacers potentially being the third best player in this series as a whole. And I think that definitely changes the way that I look at it. Because if both teams are deep and Jalen Williams doesn't play well, because I think he's probably better than Pascal Siakam, at least at his best, then the Pacers have the second and third best players in this series. And while the Thunder may have Shea, we did find they were trying to look for that scoring, scrape it by. So respect to Chet Holmgren, but if one of those two guys isn't playing up to their ability and what we've seen them play at, then I really feel like that opens the door for this Pacers team. They're so deep. That bench is there. I mean, the Thunder play like their 9th guy in their rotation, so much respect to that. But the Pacers are right there. I just if one of those guys doesn't show up, specifically Jalen Williams, I do think that this could be a very competitive series.
Yeah, and like I was saying, obviously we don't know how the matchups are going to go, but Andrew Nemard can force those bad games out of you. Like before, like I was mentioning with the Pacers kind of recap that we did, like he's like consistently been one of the better perimeter defenders on some of these guards, and then you have also Aaron Nesmith and Benedict Mathurin even coming off the bench. Like they have good perimeter defenders, so not only do they have to they not only have to play well, but they have to make sure that like the defenders aren't forcing them into bad games because they have good defenders on both sides of these ball. Like that being said, Jalen Williams in his own right is a really good defender, and OKC is one of the best defensive players. OKC is one of the best defensive teams in the league, if not like top three, maybe the best defensive team in the league. So it'll go for both teams, and I think there can be massive swings in the series. It wouldn't surprise me if either of these teams can like find a way to blow out the other team if one of them are having a good game, because both these teams can shoot, both these teams can play at a fast pace, both these teams can score. So if either team is like having a bad game, like there can't be any off nights from any of your star players, and then you just hope you get what you can consistently get from your bench.
Yeah, I'm glad that you at least brought up the Thunder's ability on defense too here, because Alex Caruso, I feel like would definitely be thrown at Tyrese Halliburton. I don't have their matchups, between them off the top of my head, but that could potentially present some problems. That's definitely something that the Thunder are going to want to see if Alex Caruso can stick on Tyrese Halliburton, slow him down a little bit. I think I want to circle back here one last time. I didn't know if you had any extra points, but I wanted to mention again this matchup between Tyrese Halliburton and Shea, because I think if Shea is not on point for the Thunder, if he is not consistently providing offense, like maybe if there's some sort of first half in the game one against the Timberwolves kind of motion going on, I think the Pacers win that game. I think they win the series if Shea is not where he needs to be in this series. And then on the other side, if Tyrese Halliburton, he is the engine for this Pacers team. As great as Pascal Siakam was, if he has trouble with Alex Caruso and can't figure that out until game 3 or something like that, this Thunder team will jump on this Pacers team. So, I think both teams need to come in on point. It has blowout potential in specific games, because I don't think either of these teams are going to let one of those moments slide, and you got to play a full 4 quarters to win in any of these games. But I think that it's a really interesting matchup. They're the true engines behind both of these teams, as deep as they are.
Yeah, and I think the point you made with Tyrese Halliburton is so great because the fact that his floor just feels a little bit higher than some other players that can only affect the ball by scoring, because of the fact that even when he's not having a good offensive game, it feels like he still manages a way to get 7, 8, 9, 10 assists. He averages 10 assists for the season. So, I mean, when you're looking at his floor, even when he's not providing that scoring punch, you want him to like take more than 7 shots like he did in game 4, whatever game that the Knicks took, game 5 maybe.
Yeah.
Like you want him to be more aggressive on offense. You want him taking shots, but even when he's not, he is the floor general, and he's one of the more true point guards in this league. So even if they're not getting whatever they need to be getting, like if they're not getting 20 plus a game from Tyrese Halliburton, he's still affecting the game. You know that he's still going to have like a good amount of assists, and he's not going to be crazy turnover prone. So I mean, like if SGA isn't having a good game, if Andrew Nemhard is forcing a bad game out of him, whatever, he's just not playing up to snuff. I feel like like we were saying, the Pacers can just jump all over them. So I want to say the series will be a lot closer than a lot of people are making it out to be, because I feel like
Yeah, I
the
don't I
over
don't think that this is going to be a blowout right now. Like I don't know if the Thunder win this in 5. Like I
yeah
think that
though.
this is I lean towards Thunder in 6, but
Mhm.
I don't think that this is going to be a blowout.
Yeah, the overarching theme from I feel like a lot of people in the media right now is that the OKC Thunder are already crowned champions, and I want to push back against that a little bit, just because of the fact that we've seen the Pacers do this time and time again at this point, and it could be a thing where they just ran into a better team like they did last year. But I mean, this Pacers team like has that experience from last year, and they're just finding ways to win games, and they almost feel like a team of destiny at this point. So I don't want to I want to give the Pacers as much credit as I can.